Hello everyone, welcome back to Seed Media. And today we're looking at a simple guessing game. And the objective of the game is this: you get to enter a random number or a number you decide to guess between 1 and whatever number you decide to pick out. The guessing game selects a random number from 1 to whatever number you select. You have 3 trials to actually make it work. So get straight to it. It's a game I came across online and I just thought about replicating. It's actually a beginner's tutorial, and I think it's something we can actually get to learn the if statement and the while loop while working with it. So the first thing we need to do is import the random function, and the random function allows you to get random numbers between two values. And maybe in a later video I'll actually take time out and discuss the algorithm that Python works with and the random function. And we create two variables, trials, and give it an initial value of 0, and a second variable called guess and give it an initial value of 0. The trials variable is going to house the number of trials left for the user, while the guess variable is actually going to house the guess made by the user. Then we create a variable called numLimit that is going to house the limits to the number or the number limits that the user imputed. So it says please enter a number greater than 2 as the guess limit. That's so that if we enter 4, the random number is going to be guessed between 1 to 4. And if we enter 5, the random number is going to be guessed between 1 to 5. Then we declare an if statement. The if statement says if numLimit is a digit, and else if prints you entered an invalid number. So before we talk about generating a random number, we need to ensure that the value that is entered into the variable called numLimit, num_limit, is going to be an integer value, because the default value of every input is a string, we might need to actually convert the values that are stored in numLimit to an integer, so we can actually generate random values with it. Then next we declare another variable called rand, and the rand variable is going to take two values, which is 1 and the number limit that you initially stated. So now it's basically going to generate a random number from 1 or whatever number you've generated, and we get this done using the random module that we initially imported into the Python script. And the random module takes a parameter of randint that tells us that we're going to be generating a random integer. Then we declare a while loop statement. A while loop basically in Python functions like every other while loop in every other programming language. So next we declare a while loop, and a while loop checks to ensure that the trials is still below 3. In this game, we're going to be giving the opportunity to the user to have 3 trials. After the 3 trials are exhausted, the game comes over. Now, the numLimit also serves as a difficulty parameter in the sense that if you select a value from 1 to 3, it shows that the guess is going to be a little bit easier. The higher the number, the more difficult it's going to be to pinpoint what a random number has been generated by the computer. So we say if the numLimit is a digit and the numLimit is also greater than 2, we need to first check that to ensure that the value that the user entered meets the criteria. That's to say that the number must be greater than 2 and it's also a digit before any further action can be taken. And if it meets that criteria, now it tells the user, it prints to the screen and tells the user you have chosen a random number between 1 and whatever number you've chosen. The next print statement says you have 3 minus trials left, guesses left. That's so that, because right now the initial value of guesses is 0. 3 minus 0 still gives us 3. So that means we still have 3 guesses left. Now the guess variable takes another input and we validate the input from the user to ensure it's a digit. And after that, we check to see if the number guessed by the user is equal to or not equal to the random value created. Now, if the number guessed by the user is not equal to the random value created, the trial value is incremented by 1, meaning that the user is now left with only 2 trials. Now, if the initial if statement is not met up with, we have an else statement that runs and tells us that automatically if it's not a numeric value, it means that the value can never be equal to the number generated in the random by the random module. It insists that the user should kindly enter a numeric value, and you also lose the opportunity to make that trial. That's to say that the trial is still incremented by 1, and we have a continue keyword that tells the while loop to continue running. The parent if statement directly under the while loop has an else statement that says that in case the parent if statement fails, the else statement says you have entered an invalid number, please try again. And now it gives you another opportunity to enter the new value of the number limit. That's initially if you entered an invalid number while trying to declare the number limit. Now, after the number limit has been declared, we have another if statement that checks to see if at any point while the while loop is executing that the guess is equal to the random value generated. If at any point the random value and the guess digit or the guess answer from the user is equal to, we print out a congratulatory message that also use string formatting to impute the value that the user guessed and tells him that the value is correct. Then we have a break statement that takes us directly out of the while loop and terminates the program. If while you're carrying out your guess, you find out that the trials is greater than 2, or the trials have actually gotten to 3 and above, and still you've not gotten the value that is stored within the rand variable, print out a statement that says game over, the actual number that was stored within the rand variable, and tells you that you failed to meet up with the guesses that were allowed. So let's save the program, run it, and actually see what the outcome is going to look like. We save that, we expand our console menu, Python guessing.py, run it. And it says, please enter a number greater than 2 as your guess limit. Let's go with 3. Say you have 3 guesses left. Kindly make a guess. Let's say 2. Okay, 2 is not the value. Let's say 1. 1 is not the value. It has to be 3. Then you say, congratulations, your guess of 3 is correct. So let's enter. Let's run the game again and enter a value of 100. Now, see, we have 3 guesses left to actually guess the value between 1 and 100. Let's enter 2. Let's enter 44. Let's enter 1. You say game over. You have failed to guess the right number. The right number was 72. That means the randomly generated number was actually 72. Now let's run the program one more time and enter a string character or a character and see what it shows. You say you have entered an invalid number, it takes us out. But if we were to run this, and let's assume that we now selected 44, which is a valid number, now telling us now that we should actually take a guess, and we enter a non-numeric character like W, enter. It says kindly make a numeric guess. And let's enter 3. It still says that you have chosen a random number between 1 and 44. You have 2 guesses left. Make another guess. 4. Congratulations, your guess of 4 was correct. So that's basically all we have for this. It's actually a very basic tutorial for beginners, something you can just use to get your hands wet and understand how the while loop or the control structures in Python works. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you at the next video. Thank you.